Hi everyone, welcome to the Conga Composer Creating PowerPoint Templates webinar. This webinar is part of the Conga webinar series, and in this session we'll be showing you techniques for creating customized PowerPoint templates. We'll be creating an account summary template, starting with a simple example, and then progressively adding more functionality to it as the webinar goes on. My name is Ashley Green, and I'm the Director of Education and Communities here at Conga. I'll be your moderator for this session. But before we get started, let's do a little housekeeping. The entire webinar is slated to last about 60 minutes. We're breaking it up into simple, intermediate, and advanced sections, and we'll take a break at the end of each section to answer a few questions. We'll also leave a little time for Q&A at the end. We have a lot of registrants, so everyone's phones will be on mute. If you do have questions, please submit them online. We may not get to all of the questions, but we'll answer as many as we can during the session. And any that we don't get to will be answered in an FAQ that we'll be posting to our knowledge base. The webinar is being recorded, and we'll also make that recording available within a few days on our YouTube channel and in our knowledge base. So let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce Tiffany Kroner, who will be taking you through this session. Tiffany is one of our business analysts, and she's excited to take you through this topic. Tiffany, it's all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. As Ashley mentioned, I'm going to be kind of giving a few examples on creating some PowerPoint templates. I'm going to focus today on PPTX templates as opposed to our PPT templates. There is a difference on how those templates are created. Our PPT templates are our PPTX, templates are a lot more advanced and have some great functionality, and we like to use those in place of the PPT. So let's get started. So we have a lot of different template types. As I mentioned, we are focusing on PowerPoint today, but we also have Word, Excel, email, and PDF templates that you can choose from. All of them are well documented, and we do have a couple webinars out there that we encourage you to check out. Today we're going to be building an account summary. So we're going to have all of our account information as well as some additional related objects such as our opportunities and contacts. We're going to break this into 3 sections: simple template, intermediate, and advanced. For our simple template, these are what we're going to cover, starting with design. Let me go ahead and open up a brand new PowerPoint, and we'll start building. New and blank. So the great thing about these templates is all of the design features that you have available to you are going to carry over. So the first thing we really want to do is kind of set a theme for our PowerPoint. So I'm going to click one of these themes, or of course you can make your own. Once we have this, we're at a point where we can start adding some information in here. I'm going to head over into Salesforce and start grabbing some information. So I already have a button created up here at the top of my accounts. And as I mentioned, I already have some reports feeding into this button. One is going to dive into my opportunities listed in here, and another one to grab all my contact information. Take a quick peek at that button. So I have my 2 reports listed here, and I also have a query that we're going to cover in the advanced section. Just to take a quick peek at those reports, just some basic opportunity information filtered with my account ID so I get my dynamic data. Same thing with my contact information. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to click on my button here. Once this opens, I'm going to go down to our template builder. Go ahead and open that, and it's going to have all of my available merge fields in here. Okay. So I have all of my account fields and some related lookups that we throw in there for you. Quite a bit of information, but we do have a great search function if you are looking for something specific. I'm going to go ahead and grab my account name and pull it onto my template. So I'm going to find the field, and I can always double check that field with the data example in my second column. Once I click on that field, it automatically copies it to my clipboard. So all I need to do is go over to my template and add it as a merge field. The great thing about PowerPoints is they are by far our easiest merge fields. How we create those is we do a double curly brace, paste in that field we have saved on our clipboard, and close that. And that's our merge field. Let's go get another field. I'm going to go ahead and look for an industry field so we know what type of account we're going to be presenting with. Paste that in there. All right. I'm going to add one more field to our cover. I want to know when this was created. Data can change a lot, so Conga has a field that it's created on its own, so it tells you when this merge was actually done. So once I run this through Conga, today's data is going to populate in there, so I always know when my data was pulled. So here's the start of our template. I'm going to go ahead and create another slide. And we're going to keep it a little bit simpler on this version. So far, we've been looking at just our master data, so data that's coming from the object that our button is on. As we talked about, I also have two reports. One is contacts, one is opportunities. We're going to head over to our data set for the opportunities and grab some of the opportunity fields. I'm going to start with table start. The best thing to do is think of these as bookends. Whenever you're using data from a report or a query, you want to start out the information with table start. Kind of directs Conga into where this information is coming from. So it sees this table start opportunities. It knows to go look for a report or query called opportunities for all the following fields. We're going to insert that just like our other fields. Close that. And then we'll get some information to put in from this report. So we'll just start with opportunity names. And then we always want to end our section, our report section, with a table end. We always want to match table starts and table ends. Let's go ahead and give this a quick name so we know what we're looking at. It's going to be So we have a decent template. We have a good start. We have some account information, and then we have some detail regions as well. Let's go ahead and save what we have so far, and then we're going to go test it. Just to clean up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and open this button again. Those windows do time out after a certain amount of time. So I haven't saved my template in Salesforce yet, so I'm just going to pull it from my local computer until I'm ready to save it. browse for that on my desktop. Open it, and then I'm going to click merge to see that data. So here we have our account name, our industry, today's date, and then we have one of our opportunities have pulled over, one of the names. We're going to kind of dive into this into a little bit more detail, but covers our bases.
Okay. Can I ask you a few quick questions, Tiffany?
Of course.
Fantastic. So someone wanted a little bit more clarification on PPT versus PPTX and why you would choose one versus the other.
That is a great point. So PPT is really, it's a very basic version of these PowerPoint templates. We've really taken a lot of time to build out our PPTX templates, and we recommend that that's what you use, just because the functionality is drastically different, and I'll show you how you can determine which one you're going to use. So I breezed over it, but when I went to save this file, let's do a save as on here. We have PPTX and then we have PPT. This is what's going to change from each template. So making one save as it versus the other. So you always want to do PowerPoint presentation to get that PPTX. Fields will change from version to version, and we'll have both of them are well documented on our Documents tab and in our knowledge base.
I think a second question would be, could you show them really briefly where you would find that additional information?
Absolutely. I'm going to go back over to my Salesforce tab. All right, so I have just headed off to our website. On the support tab and then documentation down below, we have all of our template types broken out. So we do have Word and Excel, they're going to be the same for each version. PowerPoint are the only ones that differ in how those are created. We always refer you to the PPTX. If you want to do PPT, feel free, of course, and then our documentation is right here.
Right, excellent. And I think that'll do it, Tiffany.
All right. So let's jump back to our intermediate. So we're going to take the detail data that we have from our opportunity, we're going to put it in a field, format some information, and we're going to play with some images. Go ahead and wipe this out. So instead of just putting these on a slide, we're going to create a nice table for this information. I'm going to click on Insert and Tables. I always want to have one row for my headers and then one row for our data. Conga will create a row for every record we have. If I have one record, Conga will keep that one line. If I have 5 records, it will create a line for each one of my records in my report. So wipe these out. Get going on this table right here. So we're going to put some headers on here. We have the name. I'll grab my stage, the date that it's closed, and the amount, just so we can kind of get a good summary of the business that we've done with this customer so far. Again, I'm going to start my information or my report information with this table start. I'm going to enter it in exactly the same, curly brace, table start. The spacing that this takes up does not matter. It will shrink down upon merge. And we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. All right, grab my opportunity name. And grab a couple more fields. All right. are several different ways in pulling data into or from a report or a query. We're going to cover the two most popular ones. If you have any more questions, I mean, definitely I would consult the documentation, or you are always welcome to contact us at support. Let's do amount, and then we can do our table ends after that. The slide is just about ready to go. I want you to take note of the close date and the opportunities. If we go over to our template builder, it gives us an example of how these are going to pull out. So note the amount field. It does have a decimal, but we do not have a dollar or any commas in there to format it into a currency. Same thing with the date. It pulls over day, month, or sorry, month, day, year. If we want to change that, we can always reformat that with something we call picture switches. Let's grab some picture switches. So we have these documented in our knowledge base and our website. So I'm just going to head over there really quick. I have a couple of them opened. I just did a search for PPTX formatting, and it gave me a couple of articles. I could see this one right here is telling me how I can format different dates into something a little bit more customized than what is given, and we do the same thing with currency. I'll give you a quick example of that. So how we do this, we want to do a space slash, oops. For date and times, we're always going to do the @ symbol right after the slash, another space, and then we can format it as we want it. I don't need to worry about the day, so I'm just going to give the month and then a slash and then a 4-digit year. And this is going to convert the basic date into the format that I want. Same with our opportunity. I'm going to do a space, slash, and we have a custom currency formatting that will give you a dollar symbol, commas, and decimal points based on the currency that you're using. So I'm going to type in currency, and based on my locale, if I have Salesforce ISO codes related to an opportunity, it's going to take that information into account and give me the format that I need. Go ahead and format this a little, and then I think we could save it and give it a test. And we don't need that. I'm going to go back to our Conga Composer window. We already have that template attached. All we need to do is merge, and it's going to grab our most recent version. Right, and we have our cover page. Now if we click down here, we have all of our opportunities. So we only populated the one line, but you can see we have 6 opportunities total with our stages, our formatted dates, and our formatted amounts. Any questions before I continue?
Sure, we do have a couple of questions. One question was, so right now that slide takes up most of the page. What happens if there's so many rows on it that it's going to go past the edge of that particular slide?
It will take up as much room as it can on this page, and then it'll break and repeat it on the next page. So if I were to make my cells a little bit wider, I can kind of make it push it off the page or give it a special breaking point. But it will just repeat your table onto the next slide.
And so PowerPoint handles that formatting for you then?
It does, yes.
Okay, great. The other question was, this is slightly off the reservation. Can you pull images from Salesforce and include them on a slide?
Absolutely, and we're going to go through that on the next slide. There's two ways to do that, and I'll give you an example of both of them.
Okay, fantastic. And those are the questions we have so far.
All right, fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and close this one, and we're going to add another slide to our deck. So now that I covered all the opportunity information, I'm going to switch over to our contacts. So we're about to work with this team, and we really want to see, put a face to the name. So we're going to grab some information for the contact first and last name, and then we have an image of that contact saved in Salesforce that we can pull onto our slide deck. Oops. We're going to meet the team. All right. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to grab another text box on here. Before we had our text boxes added for us, but I'm going to do a couple different text boxes. So I just add text box up here. You can also do some shapes as well, some borders, and customize that as you want. Start right here, and I'm going to do it slightly different. So we're going to pull our data out of Salesforce, but we're actually going to skip the table starts and table ends, and we're going to do something that's for the slide only. So we're going to tell it to repeat the slide rather than listing out the data. So, and it'll make sense here in just a moment. So let's start with our first name from our contacts report. And then I do want to have a space between these two merge fields, so I just add a space right here. Grab my last name. Place that in there. I'm going to add another text box down below. Add their title. Oops. Yeah, we'll leave it. Bear with me one moment. There we go. Okay. So I'm also going to grab their title, and then we're going to jump to the image. So as I mentioned, there's two ways that you can pull over images in PPTX templates. Similar to how we do it in Word, we have a switch that we can add in the beginning of a field, a picture field. Grab it over here. So I'm going to find the field that has my image URL, click on it, and then before I paste that image in there, I'm going to type in the word image, paste in that field, and that way when Conga sees image, it knows that it needs to convert this field into something more. Furthermore, we can set a width and a height on here. Height and then width. So if I want my image to always pull in at a height of 150, I can type that in there, and another colon will give me the width. And then we can close that. You can set one versus the other, so if you really only want to have your height, that is a possibility, and that way your image will not get distorted on trying to fit into that size. I'm going to show you another way which is unique to PowerPoint templates. Go ahead and grab an image. Oops. I'm going to have some nice tulips. Shrink that down. So any image really can work, and just throw it on here as a placeholder for the image that you're going to add. You can change the size however you want to have it. The placement and the size are going to stay consistent. So how you make this into a merge field, we're going to right click on the image properties and go down to Format Picture. Down at the very bottom of this list, we'll see Alt Text. In the description, we're going to paste in our merge field, just like we did in the text boxes. Close that. And now upon merging, this tulip is going to be bumped out and our contact image is going to be replaced. Go ahead and do some quick formatting. We can center this. All right, and then the most important piece to this slide is we're going to tell Conga to repeat this slide for all of our contacts. I'm going to do one more text box down at the bottom. It's good to always make this the very last thing you have on your slide. So I always put it in the lower right-hand corner. This is going to be slide repeat is the instruction, and then we're going to jump back over to our template builder, look at the name of the data set, contacts, and then repeat that. That way Conga knows for every line in our contacts report, we're going to have its unique slide. All right. That's good. Let's go ahead and save. Back to our Conga Composer window. Go ahead and merge. See how it looks. There is a limit to this slide repeat. That I do want to mention. It will only let you repeat 50 slides per report. You can have multiple reports in here though. Alright, so as we can see, we have our first contact, and we can definitely use some formatting over here. We'll get to that. Down to the next slide, our next contact, and so on. One more thing, the slide height I really categorize as an advanced piece. And before I go into the rest of the advanced, I want to stop and ask any questions.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions. There was one on the slide repeat. And so if you have more than 50 slides that you want to generate, what do you do?
What you would want to do is break this into separate reports or queries. So you'd have one report with your first 50 set of contacts. You can have a second report, say contacts 1 or contacts 2, to get your next set. So you'd have two separate slides, almost identical, except for this slide repeat would be pointing at two different data sets.
Okay. And then the second question is that somebody wants to use multiple templates. Is that possible?
That is possible. You can create different variations of these templates and pull them into one PowerPoint presentation. There is a parameter that you can add to your button that would take up to 10 templates and combine them into one larger PDF. We do have a couple customers who are kind of picking pieces of their PowerPoint presentation based on what they need to present to a customer, and then just by adding one parameter in there into the button code, and I'll actually run through a quick example. My button. I would just add the parameter ampersand APF, which is assemble PowerPoint files equals 1. And then Conga knows that instead of separate ones, it all needs to be one version of it.
Okay, and I think that's all the questions we have.
All right. Jump down to the advanced. So as I mentioned, slide repeat, we just covered that. And what is growing most popular with these PowerPoint templates are the native charts. So I'm excited to show you. The first piece of these charts is you have to use a Conga query to get your data. So I have an example in here. I've created a query to get all of the the opportunity information on for the opportunities related to my accounts. So I'm getting the stage name and I'm getting a sum of those amounts. This is going to be the hardest part of kind of creating these. We do have a great template builder to take you through it. It's a wizard to build that for you. And there's a lot more documentation online. This is just using Salesforce SOCL language, so they also do have a lot of reference guides for you. So diving back in here, I'm going to change my data set one more time down to query data, and then you'll see my two fields from that query. I want to keep this as simple as possible. We don't want to pull in a lot of rows. We just want to get a couple rows of data and pull it, columns of data rather. Back on my template, let's add another slide. I'm actually going to bump this up. So our table is great, it has some information, but some people really like to see some charts to get a good picture of what's going on. So let's create a chart on here, and then we have the shortcut we have, or if we go up to insert, we can insert a chart from here. I'm going to search for the style that I'm really looking for. I'm going to do a pie chart. Go ahead and click OK. Now, PowerPoint will automatically pop up this Excel sheet. We don't want to use this at all. Conga is going to create its own version of this, so all you need to do is close it. It does us no good. And then from here I can kind of format it the way I want it. And this is just kind of, again, like a placeholder for this. Just like the image, I'm going to go to the lower corner or anywhere far away from my chart information, right click on my mouse, go into Format, and then go down to the bottom to Alt Text. And just like we added our merge field, this time we're going to do our data set. So we're going to jump over to our template builder. We want the query data set. Curly brace, curly brace. Type in query data, close that. And now it's ready to go. I'm going to save this. Maybe do some quick formatting on here, just to make it a little bit more consistent. All right, let's do one more merge. Back to my Conga Composer window. So now we have the pie chart. I can pull up the raw data. Oh, I may have deleted one of my slides, my apologies. So I can pull up the report data so we can actually compare this data, but this data is all coming from the query. We can see we have our stages, and then we have, I've set it so that it does percentages based on that stage. All right, and then of course you can always see that there are some other options on how you can see that. Let's go to Design, And you can change the way the labels are. You can select dollar amounts, and it's just a matter of formatting it as you wish.
Okay.
That's all I have planned.
And the charting, that did generate some questions for you, Tiffany. The first was, number one, uh, does Conga support all different chart types within PowerPoint?
No, we want to keep it to simple charts. And you know, let me go back. I can show you a couple charts, or that's something that you can call support and get a little bit more information on. All right, so we want to keep it to the simple ones. If we go down to our bottom one, where we would pull in a large quantity of data, such as these ones down here, they're not going to be very useful with Conga. It can populate a lot of these, but the data isn't really enough to make it useful, if that makes sense. But I encourage you to play with them and see which format you really like the best.
Okay. There's another question, and looks like we have one question about queries. And this is somebody who isn't very familiar with SOCL, so they just wanted to know where can they find more information about SOCL queries.
Absolutely. We do have a guide on our website on using our queries. So to use a Conga query, you will want to go to our website and install Query Manager. It is a free add-on. It's all part of the Composer package. But we also have some documentation for you. If you scroll down here, you would just get the Getting Started guide. Also, and that's very simple, to get more into detail, there are some resources on salesforce.com that will kind of that will guide you through doing more advanced ones.
Okay. And I think one important thing to note too is that while SOCL is SQL-like, it's not the same language, and you will definitely see some differences if you're somebody that's comfortable with SQL.
Yes.
Another question was, so you showed us the Amper APF parameter. Are there other parameters that are specific to PowerPoint?
There are a few, not very many. If we were to crack open, actually the easiest way to find those parameters is back on our support tab and search our knowledge base. It's really easy to find information on here. So let's do PowerPoint parameters. All right, and then we have, this is almost always at the top because it's very useful. We can break it down on PowerPoint to see the parameters that we do have available specific to PowerPoint. There aren't very many. It's just preserving the rows and of course assembling. This query ID is kind of a generic one that's useful for all of them.
Okay. Another question, you mentioned that there's a limit of 50 slides on the slide repeat. This is somebody that might have an application that would generate a lot of slides. Is there a general limitation to the number of slides that you can generate using PowerPoint templates?
I will have to check. We have a limit of, we only want to pull 10 templates. So if you're doing, well, I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head.
We can research that and answer that question in the FAQ.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question was, and this is more related to an application that someone has, so they're in a situation where they're going to need to generate slide decks on a quarterly basis, and they'd rather not go through doing it manually. Is there a way to schedule this process?
Absolutely. With any of our templates, you can set this up to run with our batching tool and scheduling tool Conductor. So you can set this up, and I don't believe I have it in this, or oh, I do. So you can set up a solution and have it scheduled with a Conductor. So Sorry, I don't have any examples in this org. But yeah, you can set it up to run quarterly, monthly, daily, weekly. There's a couple ways that we can build out that solution.
Okay.
So definitely contact support if you're interested in it.
Yeah, so if you want to learn more, then ask about Conga Conductor or perhaps take a look at our website.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I believe that is the last of our questions, Tiffany. So if you could bring back up the slide deck. And I wanted to start by thanking everyone for attending and let you know that you will be receiving a follow-up email, and it will contain links to the agenda, a recording of this session, as well as answers to any of the questions asked in this or in the previous session that we did. You can also just go to our knowledge base and search for the term archive or webinar archive. There's a variety of resources that we think will be useful, and I wanted to point some of them out. The first, obviously, is the knowledge base, which Tiffany has already shown you. You can access that from our web page, and you can also go strictly to the URL knowledge.apexstreams.com, and that'll bring you to the entry page for our knowledge base as well. As I mentioned, we are archiving these webinars. We actually have a webinar archive in the knowledge base that contains copies of all of the presentations that we've done, along with the FAQs and copies of the agenda. So you can go there by searching for the term Webinar Archive. We also have a series of tutorials that we call Quick Starts. And the purpose of Quick Starts is to help you get started with a very easy implementation of our tools. So if you go to the knowledge base and search for the term Quick Start, you can find Quick Starts, for example, around Conga Composer, and it'll help you get started on a very easy basis with the tool if you're not familiar with it. We also, in addition, provide sample templates. And the purpose of the sample templates is to give you some different examples of what you can do with Conga Composer templates. These templates span the different types of documents that you can generate, so including PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, etc. And templates also span different object types. So you can have templates that you can use working with with contacts, with accounts, with opportunities, any of those different object types. We also have a YouTube channel, and so if you go to youtube.com/congamerge, you can see a variety of videos that we have, that some of which are instructional, some of which are more marketing oriented, but you can learn more about us and what we do. And then finally, the documentation tab, which you can access from our support page, gives you access to PDF copies of all of our documentation. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our world-class support team, of which Tiffany is part. If you do have questions, you can send an email to support@congamerge.com or click a link on our support page for creating a case. The final thing that I wanted to mention is that we have a variety of training webinars that are available. And they include things such as getting started with Conga Composer. We have another one that it shows you some of our most popular parameters. We have webinars that deal with Word templates, PowerPoint templates such as this one, webinars that are specific to the needs of the nonprofit community. And to get there, you simply go to our knowledge base and look for the webinar archive, and there you can see copies of the sessions that have already been recorded. You can also search for the term registration, and that'll take you to our registration page where you can see the calendar of webinars that we have coming in the future. I wanted to thank everyone for attending, and you'll be receiving a follow-up email within a couple of days. And once again, it will include links to the agenda, a copy of the recording, and the FAQs from this session. And you can also just go to the knowledge base and search for the term archive. I wanted to thank everyone for attending. I appreciate your patience with our little technical difficulty with the mouse. And everybody have a great evening or morning, depending on where you are. And we hope to see you again soon.